Today we are to talk about demand forecasting. Demand, we have talked about law of demand already. Law of demand talks about the demand in the current times, whereas demand forecasting deals to look into the future. What will be the demand for something after 5 years, after 10 years? So we are to understand how much demand, how much quantity will be demanded in the times to come. We have to take into account different factors related to market and affecting the demand for that input or product and estimate how much quantity will be needed in future. Why we are interested in demand forecasting? It is very important. Management is to go for planning. Planning is today to meet the needs in the times to come. A good business person and an efficient person must have a precise information about the demand to arise after 5 years, after 10 years, so that proper planning and execution can be carried out to meet or to fulfill the arising demand. Otherwise, lack of precise knowledge about the demand may result in piling up of inventories. That will result in, tying or blocking your precious resources. Your resources will remain engaged and you will have piling up of inventories. Otherwise, on the other side, if you are short of, if you have less quantities, demand is more, you will lose your chance to earn profit. Or even your customers, disappointed customers, can switch to other substitutes if available. See, there was a notion in the past, Say's law. You have studied in macroeconomics. Say's law. Supply creates its own demand, but practically we have seen it does not work, and it did not work. That is why we experienced boom, recession, recovery in the business cycles. So there are problems, and demand is not only for the product, demand for different things. Demand for water, for instance, if we see and assume that cropping intensity is going to be doubled, then we must know how much water will be required in 2030. Demand for water, so that quantity can be managed. Otherwise, the dream of doubling cropping intensity cannot be realized. Similarly, if you have developers, a few developers who have a plan to develop 5, 10 colonies, big colonies in next 5 to 10 years, then that will give you picture about the demand for cement, demand for concrete, demand for cement, demand for labor, etc. Other inputs, complementary inputs required in the construction sector. So that is now in demand this estimation, forecasting can be qualitative or quantitative. The types of demand forecasting, it can be qualitative or quantitative. Quantitative requires quantitative data, more data. But if you don't have that data available with you, and if you don't have much time to work on forecasting, you have to go for qualitative forecasting. Similarly, national, industry, or firm-based forecasting. Maybe forecasting for the economy as a whole, what will be the demand for food, what will be the demand for anything else you want to talk about, demand for jobs, or a particular industry, textile industry, cement industry, or other sectors, short run versus long run forecasting. For this qualitative forecasting, survey techniques, planned, plant and equipment spending. You see different firms like Satara Textiles, like the Sapphire Group, like others, they have planning today. They have plans which reveal whether they are going to expand their plant capacity or they going to shrink, whether they're going to double the size of their dairy herd, etc. So that is, you're going to survey about the plan documents of different units. On the basis of that, you're going to say that in future, what will happen to the demand for labor, for raw material, for electricity, for animal feed, etc. Expected sale and inventory changes, consumers' expenditure plans. You can survey consumers, what consumers' intentions are, where they're going to spend in future. Their intention, you aggregate their intention, and you will come with some consensus that in which direction, okay, those expenses are moving and demand for what items will arise in the times to come. Opinion polls, business executives polling. Business executives, again, general managers, top management in different, business entrepreneurs. You can consult them, seek their opinion, what they think about the demand for, yarn, demand for garments, demand for something else. One is internal within the Sakara textile, within the Sapphire group, and the other is external, unbiased, to seek unbiased opinion. External expert sitting in the field, having experience in that area, you can seek their opinion as well. And again, there is Delphi method. Delphi method. You see, because some people are well known, renowned personalities, and the others may be quite expert, but are not that much popular, are not that much in the news channels, and you get opinion of 2-3 persons, and one who is quite famous, opinion may dominate and may suppress the opinion of others. Delphi is of the opinion that you should eliminate names. You should not, and just simply average out. Get the average and send back to the experts and tell them that on an average, the group of experts thinks that the things will happen like this. And accordingly, again, what do you think now? They can change their opinion, experts, or they can stick to their earlier opinion, and ultimately, gradually, through repeated rounds of discussion, you can reach to a consensus about the future. Sales force polling. Sales force, which is working in the field, knows much more about the real market situation. Their opinion, their views must be given due significance and due weightage, while estimating the demand for futures, consumers consensus. The other is time series analysis. Time series, as the term indicates, time series, you need to have series 20 to 30 years time series on different variables. Different variables, 10, 20 to 30 years. And then you look at that data and then you try to draw trends, long run trends, secular trends, and you will see cyclical fluctuations. Long run cycles of expansion and contractions. And again, you have discussed in macro about the boom and recession, etc. And there are seasonal variations. Seasonal variations, for instance, sugar market, before and after the cane crushing period. Demand is different, supply is different, and accordingly, price is different. Situation after time-based agricultural products, maybe wheat, maybe some fruit, maybe vegetables. Harvest time, there's flood in the market. Demand is there, price is different. But before, the arrival of new crop, price is quite high because of the difference in the situation. Unusual demand, so that is routine every year, pre-harvest and post-harvest, pre-crushing season and post-crushing season. So different variations do occur, repeated every year. The other is unusual because of floods, because of droughts, because of earthquakes, because of, you see, political unrest, because of unprecedented inflow of peoples. For instance, we got inflow of Afghan refugees during 80s. We got floods of 70s and again a few years earlier, earthquake of 2005, political unrest, agitation against Bhutto in 1977, and murder of Benazir Bhutto 2007. Anti-racism riots in USA in 2020. Now, when you have fluctuations, ups and downs in the data, fluctuations, you have to generate figures in the times to come. For that purpose, there are different methods. Moving average. In moving, because every year you have variations, one year, the other year, with different factors. And moving average says that simply you take the average of the 3 years observations, average of the 5 years observation. Looking, looking at the data nature, this is statistician to better decide, in fact, but looking at the data nature, how much variation is found in the data. So maybe experts decide about the average of 5 years or average of 3 years. So simply average of a given decided observations, number of observations, gives your forecasted next value, next observation. Similarly, again, you go on taking average, repeated average of the same number of observations. So the generated value will be added into the average now, then go on and go on. Now, in this case, as I said, simple, you taking average, you adding 3 or 5 observations and you taking simple average. Whereas some of the statisticians are of the opinion that no, the nearest value observation might be more significant, more important, more reliable, maybe that indicating or reflecting the real current situation. Whereas the distant, as you go far away, that becomes less important, less meaningful. So for that purpose, there is option for instead of moving exponential smoothing forecasts. In exponential smoothing forecast, simple, you give weight. You give weight to different past observations, and that weight will vary. Closer is the observation, higher is the weight. As you move far and far, weight given to different observations go on reducing, go on reducing. So, and again, you get weighted average for the future.
सर
Then there is econometric.
सर सर जी सर
Yes,
सर कुछ लड़के ऐड होने का वेट कर रहे हैं क्लास में, तो काइंडली आप उनको ऐड कर दें।
कर दिया एडमिट
जी
ऑल
सर,
कह
थैंक यू।
दिया मैंने बेटे ऑलरेडी।
जी सर।
Now econometric models, what is econometrics? You know, it is integration of economic theory, mathematics, and statistics. Now in econometrics, as in law of demand, you need to identify variables, determinants of demand. As I have sent you this copy of the presentation in your group, you must have seen, and you can take advantage from that for preparing. Now this econometric, here the equation shows quantity demanded is a function of Px, Y, N, Ps, Pc, A. Here quantity demanded depends on the price of the product itself, consumers' income, size of the population. Now, price of the substitute. Now, what product are you talking about? So the product over here is cornflakes. Demand for cornflakes. Now for cornflakes, complement milk. Milk price and milk availability is also important. And substitute here may be again bread. So you have to include an advertising, and then is the random term. Now you have to run a regression over here. While running regression and time series data, you need to, for having better trends and better forecasts, you need to have 30 to 40 years data, and data must be reliable. And you have to, you can see, you need to take into account or keep in mind the multicollinearity issue. There should not be multicollinearity. And what is multicollinearity? It is interdependence of different variables which we have included in the model. Mutual interdependence. If our two variables are interrelated, we cannot identify the effect of one variable as determinant, because these two are jointly moving and jointly affecting the demand. points to remember data series on all variables 30 to 40 years. Or multi-collinearity issue need thrashed. Make sure that the trend of variables observed will continue. Now again, you have collected past data. Your projection or forecasting is based on, you know, past data, and you are assuming that the past trend will continue in the future.
Sir,
You need to be sure. For
sir
instance,
जी सर
up to जी बेटा
सर अभी कुछ लड़के और रहते हैं वो ऐड नहीं हो रहे, वो कह रहे हैं कि रिक्वेस्ट हमारी एक्सेप्ट कर लें।
वो क्यों नहीं ऐड हो रहे बेटा?
सर पता नहीं, वो कह रहे हैं कि हम वो लिंक ज्वाइन किया हो लेकिन हम क्लास में नहीं आ रहे।
लिंक उनको मिला नहीं था,
लेकिन वो थोड़े लेट हो गए इसलिए उनकी रिक्वेस्ट पेंडिंग पड़ी हुई है।
जेड़ा जब भी मीटिंग होगी ना, मैं ना बोलना, मेरे ना जाए आवाज।
सर किसी का माइक ऑन है, किसी का माइक ऑन है सर, प्लीज पीछे से आवाजें आ रही हैं।
ठीक है,
वो भी हो गए हैं, मेरा ख्याल हो गए।
अनम्यूट कर, अनम्यूट का मतलब उनका कि सारी आवाज नहीं ऊपर जा रही, मुझे पता नहीं, मैं टीवी में।
ओके, तो जैसे you are aware that during 60s situation was different. Investment and growth in the country was different. But during Bhutto period, due to rapid nationalization of different industries, retarded investment. And so that was change in the policy, government policy. Similarly, during Zia period, denationalization resulted in, uh, recovery of many sick units and motivating the people that yes, no more unit will be nationalized in the future. So again, people were prepared to make investment in the country that will give different momentum to the economic growth and production in the country. So you need to see whether the circumstances, whether the conditions as you have observed in the past will continue to be similar or will change. If change, those changes need to be incorporated in, forecasting. For instance, there was, 1998. Is there any problem? Any problem? Anyone?